Hey, smart authors, welcome back to another episode of the Smart Author Podcast. Today I'm joined by Stephen Diaz of the Rainmaker Family, and we speak about his journey going from a wedding photographer to becoming a 8-figure coaching business, teaching mums how to start their own Amazon business. And we actually go quite deep into the weeds for marketing and how he actually does all of the marketing stuff within the Rainmaker family. So we speak about life challenges, how he was then able to automate that and create Evergreen challenges, and then going a step further and actually making a book out of his challenge, which I've done marketing for, and it does very well on the front end. But generally speaking, that whole ecosystem of how he's able to get those challenge buyers, give them a ton of value and help them become, mastermind clients with him and work closer with him to actually generate the results. And based on his statistics, his number one thing was every 14 days, someone makes 6 figures in his community, which is just insane. So highly recommend this episode if you're looking to create new sales assets for your business, automate them, maybe turn them into a book, and then how you can kind of ascend them into your programs, masterminds, all of the above. So I hope you enjoy the episode. Hey, Stephen, welcome to the Smart Author Podcast.
What's up, Chris? Good to be here, man.
So we have been working together and have been friends for quite some time now. For everyone on the episode now, can you give them a bit of a background to what you do?
Sure, man. Yeah. I know. I feel like I met you because your name was brought up so many times from other people I knew. We're big fans of joining masterminds, things like that. And I was just kept seeing this guy's name. And then when I saw you launching the Smart Author thing, I was like, we had just written a book, more of a book that was intentionally written to be kind of like a lead magnet, right? Like we wanted to bring people into our world with this book, have them raise their hand saying, I'm that person, and then be able to serve them at a higher level. So a quick backstory of what we do. We help moms launch businesses online, specifically physical product businesses. And ultimately, we want to be the number one place for moms to create transformation in their life. We believe entrepreneurship brings out all the stuff, even you come in wanting to make money, but then you got to talk about your marriage, talk about your kids, talk about your parenting and all the things. So we love creating transformation in families. We've just had a lot of, I would say, results with moms. And so we really niche down to serving the mom audience, optimizing the program for them. The goal is, financial flexibility in their life, time freedom, right? Doing it in a way that's not going to burn them out. They're already overwhelmed and overextended. And then ultimately thriving family legacy, right? Teaching the deeper stuff of hey, when you hit walls, what do you do? How do we teach our kids these mindsets? And so that's what we do. It's called the Rainmaker Family. We've grown a lot over the last handful of years. It's been a blast, man, but I couldn't have predicted it. We were wedding photographers 6 years ago, and so me and Chelsea were shooting weddings. This is before we had kids, and we kind of hit the wall with weddings, when you're in a job that you're the person doing the thing, right? There's only so much of you, right? You only have so much time. And so this is where that kind of idea was sparked of dang, we need time freedom. We need a little more leverage where we can put in some hours, but it's not our income isn't directly tied to us showing up. And so that put us on this journey of exploring all the things, going to every webinar, buying every program. And we got into Amazon at the time. And this was this is the fidget spinner era. I don't know if you remember fidget spinners. And those things took over the internet. And we sold at the time kind of this little fidgety toy. I actually have one on my shelf if you're watching the video. I don't know if there's audio only, but we sold this little kendama. Yep. Yeah, we sold this kendama. It's like a Japanese yo-yo ball and cup toy. Yep. And it was kind of a fidgety toy. So we just started using those keywords, and that thing started to really sell. And ultimately replaced our wedding income. That was kind of the aha moment, was we were sitting at weddings making more on Amazon than we were at the wedding. We're okay, we need to tell people about this. We kind of became Amazon evangelists and just telling friends, telling family. One thing led to another, and Rainmakers was really born out of that, right? Teaching other people how to do this. And now it's really expanded into launching online brands. Really, the core of it is leverage. Like, how can we give families more leverage so they can earn more with less, input, so they can spend time doing the things they love with the people they love. So that's Rainmakers in a nutshell, just like in 2 minutes. But yeah, happy to dig into any of those things a little deeper if you need to.
Yeah. Well, I think the thing I love about you guys, and obviously the success of the Rainmaker family, is a testament to this. It's just you actually went and did the thing, got a result, figured out the thing, and now you're going into like, how do we help other people? Whereas I feel like so many people can come out of what they're doing and then say, oh, I'm going to get you this result, but they haven't actually achieved that first. And I think that that congruency that you guys have with your whole journey is why I think people are drawn to you as well.
Yeah, I think that's big. I think, and it was kind of like this organic thing of like, we weren't like, oh, we can make more money teaching people, which we do, by the way. People ask that, like, oh, do you make more on Amazon? Do you make more money teaching people? And we tell them, hey, we make more money teaching people because we're solving a bigger problem. So for the entrepreneurs in the room, the bigger the problem you can solve, the more you can make, right? Like selling, like an artist's palette, on Amazon, right? Like they'll put the paint on, like that solves a little problem. When we change, family's financial situation forever, like that's a bigger problem, right? So we do get paid more to do that. But it's a lot less passive, right? Like Amazon can be a little more hands off. Rainmakers is not. Like I work a normal, 9 to 5, basically. I kind of go 9 to 4 basically every day. We do have time freedom. We do have location freedom. I can take off anytime, but I choose to do it. Like we really love what we do. And it really did start with just like, we were excited about it. So we told our friends, right? And we, at the time, that was wedding industry people, right? It was like we were in the wedding world. We were telling other wedding friends. We told tell my mom how to launch a product. And that's kind of how it started. And it wasn't for moms. It wasn't all this branded stuff you see now. It was kind of just like, anyone who will listen, I will teach you how to do this. And I just did it for free in like a Facebook group. It was like 100 people. And like, I'm just like teaching them what I'm learning, just a couple of chapters ahead. And it was like there was like only 2 people that paid attention in that group that were like that actually did the thing with what I was like. When you give something, you just add a bunch of people to the Facebook group and start teaching. Most people aren't going to listen to you, right? Yeah. But there's a couple people that did it, and one of them built $1 million brand. The other one launched a handful of products. And so then we're like, okay, there's something here. And that's about the time I read Expert Secrets, right, from Russell Brunson.
Yep.
And I was like, he literally tells you to do this, like go build a beta group, get some results, and then run this webinar. And so we did that. That was our first kind of like online thing we did. We ran a webinar, exact script, perfect webinar script from that book. And that webinar, I mean, it did, I think it was 60K in a weekend. Nice. And we were like, dude, like shooting weddings, it would take us 60K. Like that'd be, I mean, that's a lot of weddings. That's at least 10 like weddings 12, probably. Yeah. It's like, that's half your summer, right? Like, and so for us to do that in a weekend, and of course I'm drinking all the Russell Brunson Kool-Aid at that point. I'm reading Expert Secrets. I'm like, this is what he talks about. We're going to be like millionaires. Like, this is insane. Like 60K. What we didn't realize was it was like a warm audience. It was like friends of friends. It was like, we promoted on Facebook. So I'm like, we're flying high. We're like, this is insane. We cracked the code. Like, this is wild. And, I think I went to Funnel Hacking Live like the next, like maybe month. And so I'm just like, yeah, we just did a webinar at 60K. Like, I'm just like all hot, like, just ego is way too high. We joined Russell's program. I think it was 25K, but it was the first year he had launched that 2 Comma Club thing.
Yep.
2 Comma Club X or whatever it was. It wasn't Inner Circle. It was like the one below that.
Yep.
And I basically proceeded to that year just like blow all the money, because like we didn't realize it was a warm audience. It wasn't optimized. Like it was just like people that knew us kind of. That's why they bought. So we ran tons of Facebook ads and it just wasn't converting. My Facebook account got shut down because I didn't know the rules. I didn't know what you could say, what you couldn't say. And I basically spent a year just like floundering and just like being like, oh, dang, we feel like we're sitting on this gold mine, but like we can't reach people. Facebook's not working. This isn't working. And at the time, Rainmakers was not like, it wasn't niched down at all. Like it was like kind of, hey, this is for everyone. It was like make money online. You know, it was like the most broad offer you could ever put out there. And so, I mean, you know, probably especially with authors, it's like the more you can speak the language, right, of the person you're trying to attract, the more it's going to draw them to raise their hand. And we were just all over the place. Like it was just kind of like, this is a generalist offer. And we had to learn those lessons the hard way. So that was the early days of Rainmakers, just like hitting the wall, struggling. And our breakthrough really came when we niched it down, and we were like, okay, let's look at our
Okay.
results. Let's look who's winning with the program, because we did have people
Yeah.
in there, you know, maybe 100 people at the time, and it was like who's winning, who's getting results, and it was moms. And we had a mentor, Pedro Deo. I was on a call with him, and he was just like, hey, you should do a challenge, like, you know, Pedro, right? He's like all about challenges. He's like, you should do a
Yeah.
challenge, and you should niche it down. So it was kind of like, okay, photographers or moms, like that was kind of our two angles. And we really felt like it was going to be, we should do moms. And so we just kind of narrowed it down to that, rebranded everything for moms, optimized, right, the lessons for moms. We weren't even parents at the time. Like we were not even parents. We just were like, this has worked for moms. So we just rebranded it. And then we started doing challenges, and then Chelsea got pregnant. So it was perfect. It was great for the brand, you know, but I think there was this deeper desire too of like, you know, the business was our baby for so many years. The wedding business took all our time, and now we
Yeah.
had actually built something that freed up our time. And as soon as we had our first son, we kind of knew like, oh wow, this is why it's moms. This is why it's families, because like having our
You get it.
business running while we could spend time with our kids. I mean, you know, now as a dad, like it's just like you don't know until you have a kid, and then you're like,
Mm.
wow, there's something here. And so we just went all in on the parent niche, and it was perfect timing. That was like 2019. 2020 hits, all our weddings get canceled, right? Like
Yeah.
we were still shooting weddings and doing Rainmakers at that point. But 2020 was like all the weddings go away and everyone's at home wanting to start businesses. So we just like, we were ready,
All
you
in.
know, like we were kind of like prepared in advance for that. And
Cool.
we took off in 2020.
Yeah. Oh, awesome, man. So, I mean, sounded like almost the perfect storm for you guys at that point.
Yeah.
Becoming
Yeah.
parents, and then also, the world shutting down and Amazon still being open for business.
Amazon just
Like,
went boom, right? Like everyone started shopping online. Yeah, that was pretty wild. And I mean, definitely a wild time. We had a big launch in February of 2020. So that was pre like
oof,
everyone knowing what was
yeah,
about to happen. So everyone comes in 2020 vision. This year is going to be awesome. You know, so we had to deal with a lot of stuff. And I mean, imagine a community going through that. We're trying to take people out of poverty mindsets, you know, and now the world's shutting down. People are getting fired, like all this stuff. So we had really cut our teeth in the early days of that program, really being like, hey guys, these are the things we've learned about breaking poverty, right? It's like you need to move when it doesn't make sense, when it's scary, when all these things. That's the biggest,
hmm
most valuable time to do it. And we saw people that did lean in during that season totally crush it. But there
yeah,
was fear that took a lot of people out during that season too, of like, oh, I'm not doing it. I'm gonna wait, you know. But the people that did lean in, Amazon was booming in 2020, and yeah, it was a fun. It was not a fun, you know, year to like, you know, be in the, you know, all the news and all the drama and all that stuff. But like, I think it gave us, you know, purpose during that year to be like, let's help people win. When
mm,
most people were just being reactive, we were like, let's all be proactive. Let's do something
yeah,
for our families in this season that's going to change things.
yeah. So you're pretty much all in on Rainmaker at this point. You've
Yep.
got a have you had your son yet?
Yeah, yeah. So we have two kids now. Yeah.
Yeah,
So our first son was 2019, late 2019, and then second son was like 2022.
cool.
So yeah, we
Yeah,
had to even level up with the second one, you know, like figure out new work optimization and stuff like that. But
yeah,
yeah, it's been a blast.
yeah, cool. So when did the challenge come along? Because I know that was a very successful kind of entry
Yeah.
point. Probably overtook a lot of webinars and things like that as a front end mechanism.
Yeah, yeah. We were doing the webinars pre that, and then 2019 was when we ran our first challenge. It was probably May of
Yep,
2019, and we would do them live. Like, so we do a big live challenge. At that point, I was kind of the coach, right? So it was like me and Chelsea were running the business, but I would kind of do the fulfillment, and so
yep,
I could only take on like 30 students maybe at a time. So we do a
sure.
challenge, we sell 30 spots, and then we would basically fulfill with them for like 4 months, and then we do another challenge. And so I think the first challenge we spent like $2,000 on in ads, and it made 60K. So it kind of matched that webinar. Amazing return on ad spend, 30x on the ad spend. But for at the time, like, I mean, we were wedding photographers. I was like, wow, that's like a lens. So you could buy a whole lens for this $2,000. It was like a scary amount of money,
Yeah.
for us. And then the next challenge, we were like, okay, let's do 10,000 on ads. Again, like you build your faith, right, for these new levels. So we did 10,000 on ads, and that one did 100K. It was like October of 2019. We're like, dang, that was our first like 100K month. I mean, it took us like 3 years in the wedding business to like get to 100K, right?
Yeah.
And then the third challenge, this will be that February 2020. I mean, honestly, it's like a miracle story. I feel like, because we were like, kind of building our faith, right? We put 10,000 on the credit card, turn into 100,000, fulfill with those students, right? We started doing a challenge in February 2020, and it just starts getting like crazy return on ad spend, like on the front end, right? Like you don't usually make money on the front end, right? You usually make money on the back end. But this thing, I think at the time we were getting challenge buyers for like $27 on Facebook, right? And the challenge was $27.
Yeah.
So now they're buying upsells and things like that. We're like putting in, a dollar and making two on the front. And
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
our plan was to spend 20,000 on that challenge. And I was actually with Pedro at the time. He has a thing called like Challenge Secrets, and we were like recording that program. And so I'm like with him in wherever we were, Atlanta or something. I forget where it was. And I remember calling Chelsea and being like, hey, the Facebook ads are doing really well. Every dollar we're putting in is turning into two. How much can we spend?
Yeah.
Like, because we had kind of built the faith for 20K, but it's like every dollar's doubling. It means this challenge is kind of risk free, right? And
Yeah.
so she's like, spend it all, like just like go
Spend
hard.
it
Like,
all.
so we just maxed out the credit cards, and we spent like, I think it was 60 or 65K on ads, which again, like,
Really?
this is like blowing our minds, because it's like we had friends that didn't make 65K in a year,
Yeah.
and we just dropped it on Facebook ads on the Facebook roulette, wheel. And dude, that challenge did it did 1.4 million in sales on the back end. And I don't think we've ever seen a return like that since, right? Because ads have gotten more expensive, but that was truly the game changer moment where it was like, you kind of see these overnight success, right? Where it's like, wow, that was like going from 6 to 7 figures in a week, right? But it was years in preparation, right? Like
Yeah.
years of figuring this thing out, years of creating systems. And that also forced us to level up, because I could no longer coach
Hmm.
300 something students, or however many it was, probably 350 plus people that came in. Um, we had to certify coaches, right? And like multiply me. And so at least at that point, we had coaches that had been through a couple years with us, like kind of our OG rainmakers. And we were like, all right, you're a coach, you're a coach, you're a coach. Like, who wants to take on 30 to 50 students? And like, we just made it happen, like just super
Yeah.
fast.
Wow.
Like within 2 weeks, we pretty much, because we saw the registrants, like we were like, saw how many people were registering for the challenge. We're doing the math. We're like, oh my gosh, this could be crazy. So we just started like figuring it out, So I really look back. It's like, I feel like it was a miracle. I feel like, it was like, I believe God doesn't really like lead you into anything you're not, like a battle you're not already prepared for, right? That's kind of a philosophy I have, is like, you always kind of have what it takes. It will be stretching, but like you always kind of have the tools you need, if you really
Hmm.
dig deep. And so it was kind of like all the people were there, ready, like willing to coach. Like it was kind of like the systems were mostly there. Some of them definitely broke. We didn't have like an email or anything like at that time, like a customer support email.
Yeah.
We were just like all just like send us a DM on Facebook. So it
Yeah.
was definitely a big, fast learning curve. But yeah, we basically went on to do like 7-figure challenges that year. I think we did 3 or 4 of them
Cool.
that year. And
Yeah.
um, and yeah, live challenges were kind of our bread and butter for a long time with Rainmakers. And then we shifted to Evergreen challenges that kind of ran without us as we started to have, our kids growing up, and second son. We were like, we need more time freedom. So we started doing Evergreen stuff, launched
Hmm.
the book funnel. Now we have a lot of ways people come into our world. But that was definitely how we got started. And so definitely a part of our DNA at Rainmakers.
So the Evergreen challenge and also the book was just like, how do we leverage this thing that we know works really well for this audience?
Yeah. I think like the mom audience, like they come in pretty skeptical, right? Like they've done the MLMs, they've tried the things, like, and they really like it's actually kind of counterintuitive because we thought moms, they're going to be overwhelmed. They're not going to have time to go into a challenge. Like they probably want a webinar, they probably want a VSL, right? Like a 5-minute video. But we found the skepticism was like really high. So like the challenge kind of was very forgiving in that it didn't have to be perfect. Like a webinar, I feel like, yeah, like really nail everything for it to work. A webinar is like, I could be like choking on my water on, like, and Kai could run in screaming. Like it was kind of like, it all just like helped because like people were just getting to know you for like 7 to 8 hours over a week. So ours was 7 days. It was about an hour a week, hour a day. And a challenge gets people into action too. That gets them taking action.
Hmm.
And actually challenge is a great way to write a book, right? Because you can flesh out a lot of content, and then that's how we wrote our first book, right? We just turned the challenge into a book. We just took the transcripts, we added some stories, we added some, at the end of every chapter, here's your kind of action items for the chapter.
Yeah.
And instead of calling it, day one, day two, we just call it chapter one, chapter two, right? And so yeah, that's how we kind of got our first book out there. Is we just talked it out through a challenge.
Yeah.
And yeah. So yeah, now we do have a lot of different front ends, but we still run these online kind of experiences where we bring people in, and a lot of times the challenge is just it's teaching, it's equipping, but it's also like kind of breaking off
Mm.
any beliefs or anything that they're holding that might be holding them back from potentially jumping into your thing. So
Yeah.
um, yeah.
And another thing that I love about you guys, like on average, the mums that come through, like they make a decent amount of money with your program as well. Like, yeah, I think you guys have an average figure. Is that right?
Yeah, no, we track stuff a lot. So we have some averages on like how often people hit milestones.
Hmm.
I took a page out of Russell's book. We love the awards, so like we give away awards. So we have a mom hitting the $100 day mark in her business every like 1.4 days right now.
Cool. Okay.
Every 14.2 days, someone crosses six figures in our community. So that's pretty
Awesome.
epic.
Yeah.
I actually have like a big old disclaimer, I usually read, but we have about 2 to 3 product launches per day in our community at this point.
Wow.
And I want to say in the last quarter, I want to say it was like 83 of those hit that $100 a day mark. It was like 30 or so of those hit the $1,000 a day mark. And so we track a lot of that every quarter. Of course, no business is just like guaranteed success, right? It all
Sure.
takes
Yeah.
dedicated effort, focus, the drill, right? But we do we're big believers in data. And so we track a lot of that data. And we even down to, the customer journey, right? Because we used to just track awards, right? When do you hit $100 a day, right? And we would know that, but we didn't know who completed lesson one and lesson two and lesson three. So we actually now have like a whole dashboard where we can see like where are people falling off? Because like if they bought our program, how it is with the information space, people buy programs and do nothing, right?
Yeah.
So if they buy our program and they don't complete this lesson by day 7, we now have a system where they go yellow in our world. Like we log into a dashboard and they're yellow, right? And then like if they don't complete another 7 days, they go red. And then we have
Mm.
our success coaches looking for those people going yellow and red. So we have every
Cool.
milestone now mapped out, and we really do our best to like just push people along and hold them accountable.
Yeah.
I think that's one of the hardest things, especially as a parent, and like just staying focused. There's a lot of ways to make money online. There's a lot of
Hmm.
ways to do business online, but also with that, people's focus gets spread. So we do a lot of that tracking and accountability, and you can't save them all, but
Hmm.
we try to like do our hardest to keep them on track, and then they just have to do their part.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that, dude. So what is the conversion from, say, something like a challenge? Do you guys sell directly at
Mhm.
the end of the challenge, or is there just like a longer cycle where they potentially join the
Yeah.
mastermind?
We're seeing lower conversions right now with our challenge, but I'm not prescribing that to everybody. I think like we've been doing the same challenge since 2019, so that same content we've been doing every time. We just make it better and better, better, kind of like you would like a webinar. And we switched to Evergreen challenges, which means like it's on demand. You could just join today, go through our challenge. We don't have to be there. You're just watching replays. We
Hmm.
switched to that in like 2022, and we would still
Hmm.
run live challenges maybe twice a year. And now we just run basically one big live challenge a year, and then we just evergreen it the remainder of the year. So
Okay.
on a live, we'll see higher conversions. Typically, we'll see 10 to 15%. So if you had 100 people buy the challenge, we'll see 10 to 15 of them buy a back end offer.
Yep.
Um, we've seen as high as 33%. We've seen as low as, I don't know, 5%. On the Evergreen, it's definitely a little lower, right? Because it's just, you don't get the momentum of a live experience.
Yep.
We'll see, I think in 2023, we averaged about 12% on the Evergreen.
Cool.
However, lately it's been lower. It's definitely been like
Yeah.
5 to 10%. And so, who knows? Is the market changing? Are challenges getting oversaturated? I don't know. Russell just said, like at Funnel Hacking Live, he's like, challenges are going to be the next thing. I'm like, I think they've been a thing. I don't know. Everyone's always like, this is dead, that is dead. So
Yeah. Yeah.
we tried a boot camp recently. We did a boot camp just to kind of
Okay.
switch it up, maybe the challenge language. But I don't think these experiences are ever going away. I think we just come up with new names for them.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
it's kind of like, do you want a short form experience or you want a long form? And challenges are definitely the longest form, probably, of experience. So if you find your audience has a little more beliefs you got to reframe, and objections you got to handle, challenge can be great. If they're more like go getters, get to the point, people, maybe a VSL straight to a sales call works better. So we do both. Actually, we do have both, and we find some people are just better fit for a challenge and some people are better fit for the VSL style funnel. Just get to the point,
Yeah.
so there's no right or wrong, but yeah, it's kind of like anything. You should see, if it's congruent and you're delivering a good experience, you should see a good 10% plus conversion, I'd say, on it.
Yeah. Yeah, and I guess like a conversation that I've been having with quite a few guests and even in real life lately is that there's a direct correlation between consumption and the amount of money someone's going to spend with you.
Mm,
And even just like to your point, like you tried
yeah.
webinars in the past, but that's just like this big. And then the challenge came out and it's like, cool, it's this big. Now someone's consuming more of your stuff. They're getting
Mm,
more like FaceTime with you. They're getting to know you guys more. And also they're getting a ton of value from that. And so like
yeah.
it made sense that that kind of came through as a conversion king as a front end mechanism.
Yeah. No, that makes sense. That definitely makes sense. Yeah. It's funny, like some people are more like type A people. Well, I guess it's kind of depends on like if they're problem aware or like solution, kind of like that
Mhm.
stage, right? Because some people like, I've heard Richmond Ding talk about like this, where he's like, some people like he gives like a gym analogy. He's like, some people drive by this gym all the time. They're like, oh, I know I want to join this gym. Like I'm ready to go. I just like I'm kind of been putting it off, but I know it's this gym, and maybe there's like they do a free trial, and so oh yeah, I'll do the trial before I join the gym, right?
Yep.
That's kind of like, so you see some of those buyers during a challenge. They've been following you for years. They've been wanting to
Yep.
do it. You do a challenge, it just brings them in, right?
And they're
So.
the easiest to convert typically.
Yeah, easiest to convert.
Yeah.
Then you got like the people who are like, I know I want to join a gym, but I'm not sure about this gym, right? They're
Hmm.
like, I know I want to start an Amazon business, but I'm not sure about this program. There's a lot of
Yeah.
Amazon programs, right? So they're like, want to suss it out, try the equipment, like, then they make the decision. And then you have like kind of the totally skeptical, like, I just want to get a free challenge and then leave type people, right? So you kind of
Yeah.
these three people that come in, and we actually, Richmond kind of gave us that cool frame to do right at the beginning of the challenge. So we kind of lay it out. We're like, hey, we got committed Katies, we got Debbie Dabblers, we got,
Oh,
cheapo
okay.
chads or something. And like, we kind of like make an enemy of cheapo chad. We're like, can we all agree not to be this person? And, kind of get everyone like kind of breaking that belief a little bit. And it's a
Yeah.
really great analogy at the end, because we're like, hey, you promised at the beginning not to be like, hey, let's say the gym analogy, right? You're in momentum, you're starting to feel the results, and then the gym owner's like, hey, why don't you join the membership? And you're like, oh no, like I want to go get fit first, and then I'll come join the gym. That's what I'll do. Like I'll go get fit first, and I'll join. And so I'm like, that'd be like you guys saying you're gonna go make money first, and then join our program that's gonna help you make money, right? So it kind of like brings that objection up, so it's a great one. I love that. So shout out to Richmond Ding. He gave us that, and we've been using that ever since. So yeah.
Oh, that's really good actually. And I mean, yeah, like the market awareness piece is actually something that is so useful in marketing in general.
Mm,
Because it's
Yeah.
like, if you're talking to people who are product aware, which is essentially they know which gym they want to join, or people who are solution aware, they know that they want to start an Amazon business. Like, your language around your marketing is going to be wildly
Yeah.
different versus someone who has no idea what the solution is. Like, if someone
Yeah.
doesn't know what the solution is, then you're going to just talk problem aware level, and you're just going
Mm.
to explain a situation that they would resonate with. You're going to basically tell a story that helps them come to a conclusion that they need this XYZ solution to help them overcome their problem. But if they're already
Yeah.
aware of what the problem is and what the solution is, then your marketing can be like, hey, here's the benefits of this solution, and
Yeah.
it shortcuts the amount of kind of work you need to do. But the key thing here is that, like, the problem aware market is much bigger than the solution aware market, and so
Yeah. That's huge.
by continuing to market in general, you're going to need to expand to that problem aware market eventually anyway, and so you might as well market to them from the get-go as well.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, we definitely had to test that too, because like when we shifted to calling our challenge, it was probably around the time we started working with Paul. We kind of started doing the Evergreen challenge thing.
Yeah.
We shifted to calling it the Family Freedom Challenge. So we didn't even talk about Amazon. So on the front end, it was just like about family freedom. So it's kind of like, this is the result you want. These are some of the pains you might be experiencing. Because we've even found Amazon, even when I say that in a room of people, objections come up, right?
Yeah.
Like they've already seen it, they've ever heard it, like, and they don't know how we do it. And so like, we kind of we took Amazon out of it completely. We're just like, hey, it's the Family Freedom Challenge. And then day one of the challenge is like selling Amazon, right? It's like, this is why we do Amazon, right? So
Yeah.
I'd rather have an hour with them to break that belief
Yeah.
than try to do it on a sales funnel, right? So but this most recent boot camp we did, it's not converting as well right now. So it might disappear. But we named it like really specifically. We named it the 5-day remote business boot camp. So we're like, okay, maybe we bring in people that they know kind of it's businessy, it'll convert higher because like they already know they want a business type of
They're
thing.
more
But no,
sophisticated. Yeah.
it's not converting. It's not converting. So I don't know. I think it could be a congruency thing. We're still digging into it, right? Like currently this week of like, okay, it is converting, but not at the level it should, for the amount of registrants we had. But that's the game, for any business owners listening. It's like you're earning or you're learning, right? And so this week
Mhm.
we're learning, we're looking at the data and we're like, who did buy and what's the through line here? Where'd they come from? Like, did they come from Instagram? Did they come from over here? Like, who didn't buy and what were the reasons. So we're doing a lot of surveying and like, okay,
Yeah.
where did we miss it? Because when you do a launch and you kind of miss it like that, it can hurt. But we've done it enough where we're like, okay, we've won at big levels, we've hurt at big levels, and you kind of just like, okay, we're gonna learn from this. So I'm gonna get all the juice out of this squeeze, so we don't have to do this again.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah,
You just go back into the body of like 2019 Stephen and go like, "Hey
yeah,
man, what'd you do? Like, give me
yeah.
some power."
It's true. Yeah. You got to go like, I'm like, shoot, we got to hustle again. Dang, like, cause you get used to doing these big launches. I'm like, wow, it's working. And then you want to innovate, right? Cause all businesses need to innovate to kind of stay, to not die basically. Right.
Mhm.
Like you see businesses that don't innovate go out of business. And so we're like, okay, let's try this new thing. But we found if we change too much, right? It's like almost if you change too much, then it's like people aren't ready for it. And so we're kind of learning that, like, okay, we might change just the price a little bit, but we don't change the thing. Or we might change the thing a
Mhm.
little, but we don't change the price, right? And then you kind of know what's working, what's not working. This one we changed a lot, so it's hard to know what didn't work because we changed so much on it. But yeah, I don't know. We'll see. I'll report back.
Okay, cool. Well, dude, thanks for having an awesome conversation with me today. Where should people go to check you out?
Yeah. I mean, if you want to dig into the Rainmaker stuff, rainmakerfamily.com. You can check out what we're doing over there. If you like geeking out on like marketing and business stuff, on my Instagram, I really speak to a lot of 7-figure entrepreneurs trying to get to 8. We plateaued there for a long time. And so I really talk about that a lot on my Instagram. So that's Steez
Okay.
Diaz. That's SteezDiaz.
Yeah.
So if you want to get nerdy with me on marketing stuff, Steez Diaz. If you want to see what we're doing with business, Rainmaker Family.
Awesome. Well, I'll put those links in the show notes below. Thanks again, Stephen. It's been a pleasure.
Thanks, man. It was fun to be here.
Damn, what an awesome episode. If you've got a book that you're advertising or not yet advertising, and you want some book marketing advice directly from me, I'd love to set up a book marketing review with you. It's basically a 30-minute consulting session that you can get for free, worth $1,000, where we can basically dive right into everything that you're currently doing or not doing, and everything that you could do to sell as many books as possible according to your goals. So if you want to sell 100 books a month, 1,000 books a month, or anything in between, we can really help you outline a strategy to help you get there. To book your session with me, just click the link in the description below, smartauthormedia.com/chat, and you'll be able to book a time that suits you to go through everything with me so that we can help you sell some more books starting today. Look forward to speaking to you on the call.